Yes, yes, yes. No, 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 yes.
Beautiful.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you like to see all the movies we have covered, we'll cover one, to choose one for yourself. Please visit chatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. Thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are you reviewing tonight?
So, Gene, as we get closer and closer to Halloween here, our Shat Spooktacular continues with another seasonal film for our great listener, Emmett from Orange, who is a big supporter of the podcast. So we thank you, Emmett, for coming in with another unique film. You never disappoint. In this week's film, think 50 Shades of Grey plus The Bride of Frankenstein plus Scooby-Doo times Benny Hill. And that would get you to our film, the 1974 Mel Brooks comedy, Young Frankenstein.
And for the second half of his double-decker commission, Emmett wrote in and said, Big D and Gene and Shat the Movies fans, I love what you guys do and bring movies to life, even when they're just memories from childhood. Over the years, we've all contributed here and there, and thank you for letting me help with this year's Halloween Fest. With Young Frankenstein, it's a throwback to the early days of film through the comedic lens of Gene Wilder. I'd love for everyone to watch the Gene Wilder special on Netflix. What a remarkable tribute. We've had a lot of laughs and great memories with this films, and I hope this one leaves its mark too. I thought of this one when you're doing a batch of films with Mel Brooks, and you made the comment that you'd love to see the movie without Mel. Well, here you go. Gene Wilder brought him in to direct it. This movie is one that I remember clearly as a kid on TV and premium cable channels. We'd always sit and watch it no matter how far along it is. There's slapstick and a lot of scenes you'll find yourself quoting now that you've seen it. The cast is amazing. Wilder is great, and Marty Feldman steals the movie. What hump? I know it's just outside the 80s and 90s theme of the show, but I hope viewers and listeners will agree it's a great fit for the pod. Thanks again. I'm honored that you said yes, Emmett in Orange. Well, Emmett, as noted on the last pod, I was incredibly excited to rewatch Young Frankenstein. I sold Big D on it. A Mel Brooks Frankenstein parody starring Gene Wilder just days away from Halloween. Yes, please. And I'm really glad we branched out this year to do some of these funnier movies, some of these Halloween comedies to just round out our spectacular catalog. So once again, Emmett, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
So, Gene, this film came in at a perfect time. This review comes on the heels of Ed Wood, the black and white horror films, the classics. That was something that would be perfect. It's also, the topic, it ties into Halloween, but I don't know. I've always had a rough relationship with Mel Brooks, going back to Spaceballs, which is fairly universally loved. And I heard they're working on a sequel, which I don't know how I feel about that. But generally, Gene Wilder, Mel Brooks, I'm thinking Haunted Honeymoon, which we did recently, which wasn't exactly my type of comedy. And, I was afraid we were going to get, and you had said, oh, be ready for musical numbers. I was like, oh, Jesus, we're going to get another fucking song and dance. It's going to be back-to-back songs. So I was not optimistic. But always, Gene, you were on my shoulder. As the movie was, I could picture you. I thought you were on your couch and you were howling, you were smiling with joy, and Sarah was asleep on the couch, and you were just thinking about just how great this film was.
Well, as Emmett indicated, Young Frankenstein is slightly outside of the 80s and 90s. It is a 1974 comedy directed by Mel Brooks, who co-wrote the screenplay with Gene Wilder. The film co-stars Peter Boyle, Terry Garr, Cloris Leachman, Marty Feldman, Madeline Kahn, Kenneth Mars, Richard Hayden, and Gene Hackman. Considered Brooks's finest work, Young Frankenstein is a parody of Mary Shelley's novel Frankenstein, and much of the lab equipment used as props was created by Kenneth Strickfaden for the 1931 film. To help evoke the atmosphere of the earlier films, Mel Brooks chose to shoot the picture entirely in black and white, using 1930s style opening credits and scene transitions such as iris outs, wipes, and fades to black. A critical and commercial success, Young Frankenstein ranks 28th on the Total Film Magazine readers list of 50 greatest comedy films of all time, number 56 on Bravo's list of the 100 funniest movies, and number 13 on the American Film Institute list of the 100 funniest American movies. Later adapted as a stage musical, Young Frankenstein was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Sound. And Big D, you'll be excited to know that last month, in September 2025, FX announced Very Young Frankenstein, a pilot episode for a potential prequel television series is in the works.
We didn't learn like the history of the world when they turned that into a series as well. Don't do it. Why? Is there some kind of collective amnesia? 100 funniest movies, number 13 on the American Film Institute. Do you think people went back and, I know I'm cutting off your trailer here, Gene, but do you think people have gone back to watch it, or they're just living on the clips and their memories?
Oh, I think they have gone back to watch it. I think what Emmett alluded to is also correct, which is we're fed it so many times that for some people it's just ingrained. I recently learned of this phenomenon where if you repeat something over and over again, people start to believe it. And there's a reason for that. The psychological trick that they're doing is if you can't back it up with evidence, you give it familiarity because we tend to believe the familiar. So if you hear something over and over again, Coke is it, Coke is it, Coke is it. Well, shit, Coke must be it. I think that's what happened with Young Frankenstein. But beyond that, Big D, this gives me faith that you and I, we're not falling into the middle-age trap. We're not some old fuddy-duddies, because I often find myself going, what is this shit on the radio? What are these kids listening to? What's a K-pop demon hunter, you know? But I know for a fact that my tastes do evolve because I'm not those people who go, wow, comedies were so much better in the 70s when they made movies like Young Frankenstein.
Hey, but then again, you were prepping me saying this was a good film.
Right, but my head isn't cemented enough to not recognize when something maybe isn't what I thought it was back then.
Okay.
Let's hit the trailer.
It's coming from the deep, dark recesses of the mind of Mel Brooks. I love him. Young Frankenstein.
Life, you hear me? Give my creation life!
Sky means business.
Starring Gene Wilder as Dr. Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
Peter Boyle as the monster. Marty Feldman as Igor.
My grandfather used to work for your grandfather.
I'm sure we'll get along splendidly. Oh.
Cloris Leachman as Frau Blucher. And Madeline Kahn as Elizabeth.
What are you going to do to me? I'm not afraid of you.
Kill the monster!
See Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein.
Yes, I think we could all use a good laugh.
But don't see it alone. Don't miss Young Frankenstein, personally directed by Mel Blazing Saddles Brooks, in black and white. No offense.
Early in the 20th century, American Frederick Frankenstein is actively distancing himself from his grandfather, Victor Frankenstein, the infamous mad scientist. Frederick inherits the family castle and travels to Transylvania, where he meets his lab assistant, Inga, housekeeper, Frau Blucher, and a hunchback servant named Igor, whose own grandfather, Igor, worked for Victor Frankenstein. After discovering the secret entrance to Victor's laboratory, Frederick resumes his grandfather's experiments in reanimating the dead. So, Big D, all the 1930s tricks that I mentioned Mel Brooks using, we see them early on in this film. It opens up beautifully, and we've watched a lot of movies that stumbled in the opening moments but made up for it in the end. I think Young Frankenstein might be the first Shat film that's had me giddy at the beginning and then unfortunately bored pretty much the rest of the way. The 1930s opening credits, great. The raving Gene Wilder in his lecture hall, great. The unhinged movie makeup, Gene Wilder has eyeliner, lashes. He has like a madman's curly side part. All of this stuff together led me to believe we are going to lean hard into a frantic, rabid, over-the-top sort of comedy that would leave me gasping. Unfortunately, it never got there.
But I mean, like after Ed Wood, this looks beautiful.
Yeah.
It looks just like a modern film's retelling of the 31 classics. There's love, there's care that Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks put into it. You can feel it. But as I'm watching the film, I'm getting this deja vu vibe. And it's not in a good way. You know, you have Gene Wilder, you got Madeline Kahn, you got Marty Feldman. And these are all familiar faces. You recognize them from other Brooks films. Blazing Saddles, Silent Movie, History of the World. And the second that Madeline Kahn comes out, I'm thinking, shit, we're going to get a big musical number. I'm thinking, yes, 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 no, 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 yes.
Beautiful.
Or some of our other songs. And I'm like, Jesus, what am I going to get into? It feels like a retread. And I got to ask you, Gene, when someone likes to have the same actors, whether it's Quentin Tarantino, whether it's Mel Brooks, and it's nice. It is comforting when you have the same familiar faces. And you already almost have an in. It's as if you're in on the inside joke. But when does that become a creative crutch? When does working with the same crew, they understand the jokes, they understand everything works, it feels unoriginal. It feels lazy. And it feels like nobody would take a stretch to go beyond what they're comfortable and truly put something creative and unique on screen.
I mean, Shakespeare did it, and I don't think we would say that Shakespeare had a creative crutch. I don't think in this case it is a creative crutch because they're getting wildly different roles, particularly in Young Frankenstein. Madeline Kahn goes from saloon girl in Blazing Saddles. She's a socialite here. Gene Wilder, gunslinger, mad scientist. And some of my favorite directors use recurring cast members. Wes Anderson does it. You mentioned Quentin Tarantino. Christopher Guest does it. It reminds me a lot of theater companies who put on different plays with the same players. I think it's a very cool touch. I love when they do it, but it is important to at least get people different kinds of roles where they're not doing the same thing over and over.
Talk about Wes Anderson. I just watched a special on the Royal Tenenbaums and talk about Gene Hackman and how Gene Hackman and Wes Anderson did not get along. Gene Hackman did not understand the role. He did not understand the process. And in the end, that tension created something new, something funny. Here, it's all safe. It's all the same stuff. And the double entendres. When I hear, because it's the typical Mel Brooks thing, okay,
Yeah,
they're going to do a play on words. Let's have a roll in the hay. I'm like, whoa, I could picture my parents in the 70s, like in the theater, just like a belly laugh. My dad and my mother being like, oh, that's so like raunchy. I bet they must have eaten this shit up. Roll in the hay. It is so basic that I'm just like, come on. Then the whole candlestick. Put it back, pull it out. Put it back, just shove it. Put it back, pull it out. You got the knockers joke. Nice knockers. And then Inga says, oh, thank you. I get it. Ha ha. Or the whole Destiny, where she's climaxing it. Yeah, she's having sex. Or they're making the joke about the monster's enormous, what is it, a Schwanstucker or whatever it is. It's lazy. It's not funny. It's the same shit that Brooks does. These are like the dad jokes of comedy.
It's so much funnier hearing you say it than actually watching the movie, but I didn't get the candle thing. I didn't think it was sexual at all.
Oh, the pull it out, put it in.
That's not how they delivered that line.
Do you like the knockers one? Was the knockers one sexual?
The knockers one was not funny. Here's the thing. With the roll in the hay, you just let that joke zip by. It's not doing any harm, right? But you just let it zip by, and it's funny because she's literally in hay, and you just let it go, okay? But then she has to do a song about it. She's rolling side to side. Roll, roll, roll in the hay. I can't believe I'm saying this. Fuck. God forgive me, right? But smarter movies like The Naked Gun understand there's a hierarchy of humor, right? There are certain jokes that are so killer, you give them a little bit of air, right? This one, it did not deserve that much time.
See, I'm trying to balance because Blazing Saddles, we both loved. We thought it pushed the boundaries. The comedy was unexpected. It was a bit raunchy. It was progressive in that it took on a lot of topics that were taboo at the time. They pushed the Western somewhere else. This just felt very, and I don't know, maybe it was early on, and Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder just hadn't figured out the formula.
Take Blazing Saddles. If you take a double entendre, let me hold on a second while I whip this out, right? If he'd gone whip this out and then taken the paper out and then gone like whip this out and like stroked it, right? We'd be like, oh, it's a dick joke. We get it. No, you just go whip this out. Everybody gasps, right? A person who is not familiar with the stereotype of black men having big dicks is not going to get that joke at all. It's going to go right over their head. Why did everybody duck? He was just taking out a piece of paper, right? There's layers to it. It's funny. And that's what we didn't get here.
Yeah, and I think there's so much missed potential here. Some of the characters, you talk about how the roles might not be the same as they've played in other films. Terry Garr is Inga. She's not the most developed character, but I felt like she could have been the heart of the film. And instead, they reduce her to a series of, what you want me to do? Oh, rolling around to a punchline. Her entire character exists just to make sexual jokes, to talk about her breasts, her knockers. She's the naive blonde stereotype. And it's lazy. It's a missed opportunity. You got Terry Garr. She is charismatic enough to carry her own arc. But the script keeps trapping her in the roll in the hay for men to be like, ha, ha, ha. They even address it on screen. The doctor even says, what are you doing here? And she said, I'm your assistant. And he said, well, what do you do? Can you show me? And instead of her showing like her intellect or what she brings as a scientific assistant, she goes, okay, I'll show you. Oh, it's funny. And then later at the end, you get Elizabeth who says, excuse me, darling, what exactly are you doing here? I felt like they just wasted the performance.
Right? I'm not sure what she's doing there. Fred already has a love interest back home, right? Elizabeth. Okay, you got that. The only sense I can make of this is that this is just raw meat for the nerds in the audience, right? Who want to be appreciated. It reminded me of like High Spirits, right? You've got your nagging woman who doesn't appreciate you. Not even nagging, just your cold woman who doesn't appreciate you. And then there's this other woman who's sexy and attractive and she's all about you. Maybe that's what Inga's about, but does it make the movie funnier? No. Does it do Terry Garr justice? Absolutely not. You're 100% right.
No, she was there for the young men. I thought she was beautiful.
We didn't even get that much cleavage, though. More cleavage.
Oh, there was enough. Never enough. There was enough young, and I think the accent didn't hurt. Yes, the breasts were always
for
in
you
Jean's
Scandinavians.
face.
Yes, I'm sure it's very enjoyable.
She's Bavarian, I believe.
Inga is a Scandinavian name.
Right, but she just happened to be in the area. No, her accent, she sounded Bavarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After stealing a recently executed criminal's corpse, Frederick sends Igor to steal the brain of a deceased scientist named Hans Delbruck. Igor accidentally destroys Delbruck's brain and takes one labeled abnormal instead. Frederick unknowingly transplants that brain into the corpse and brings the monster to life. Frightened by Igor lighting a match, the monster attacks Frederick and nearly strangles him before being sedated. When the townspeople gather to discuss their unease at Frederick continuing his grandfather's work, Inspector Kemp visits the doctor and demands assurance that Frederick will not create another monster.
So, dear listener, when Gene and I watch the films, we are independently watching them. We put in our own notes. Then we have a shared list where we add them. 90% of the time, I am right in line with Gene. I can hear him like almost as if I'm using some kind of telekinetic power or some kind of like I'm a viewer as he's watching the film. I'm right on. His notes sometimes are my exact thoughts. So as the movie's going, and I'm picturing Gene, how Gene was just so in awe of Mel Brooks's even stupid Haunted Honeymoon, where Gene was like, oh, it's funny. These gags are great. I'm like, oh, I could picture Gene giggling. And we're going through the Mel Brooks checklist. We got, okay, the cast. Yep, same 6 actors. Mm-hmm. Double entendre. Mm-hmm. Some beautiful women interested in unattractive men. Yes. Gene Wilder screaming his lines. Yes. And then we get to the next one. It's a corpse gag. Igor and the doctor are stealing the corpse, and the casket hits the ground and half breaks open. And, oh no, here comes a cop. And the cop comes over as the hand is out, and the doctor creates a a situation where he's got the arm under his, and he's almost as if it's his right hand. And I'm like, we've seen this. This is the exact haunted honeymoon gag where the guy, or I think it was a cop, was down in the basement dead. And it went on, and he's doing almost like a marionette joke job. And you thought that shit was funny. You thought it worked. And in me, I thought the script, they had run out of ideas. I was shocked. Gene, were you sitting there being like, wow, this is so great. I can see the origin of Haunted Honeymoon?
On its own, the joke is not terrible. The corpse's hand is gigantic. Also surprisingly well manicured for being in the grave, but it's gigantic. It's clearly mismatched with Gene Wilder's body. He's got to kind of like stomp his foot in order to get Igor to move the arm for him. There's a bit of coordination there, not to the degree we got in Haunted Honeymoon, but it was okay. But when you're already soured on a movie and that movie is trying to pull you kicking and screaming into every joke, forcing you to acknowledge it, a smirk is all they got out of me. I wasn't mad about it, but I definitely wasn't laughing out loud.
I will say the one thing they did, they didn't go back to it 5 times. You remember Haunted Honeymoon. The cop came down, saw it. They did a whole routine. Then they did the routine again. Then they started like throwing his leg up. They replaced that, Gene. I just realized it with the inspector. The inspector had the arm, and he kept pushing the arm down. Arm would come back up. These are all repeating gags.
Or they replaced it with a the joke. Yeah,
I usually don't like dessert.
So again, you're funnier than the movie. And Big D, at the top of the podcast, I said that this is perhaps Mel Brooks' finest film, but not his funniest. I believe that. It's just not very funny. But like you said, they put some love into the overall look. I was glued to the screen when jokes weren't happening. The monster crashing through these fantastically breakable doors, just like old Hollywood. Those lifts that made Peter Boyle look like 7 feet tall. The makeup, the costumes, the set, everything looks wonderful. The camera work is, dare I say, cinematic. And I think the only problem with this movie is it was trying to be a Mel Brooks movie. I kept wishing that it were a different telling of the classic Frankenstein tale. Like, it could still be funny, but not in this style. And what I can't figure out is why Blazing Saddles followed this formula and worked, because Blazing Saddles was also big. It was epic. We got those aerial shots of the entire town. They used a lot of different sets. They used a ton of actors. They used a lot of talent. The costuming was great. And all I could come up with was Blazing Saddles was irreverent. Like, they did not give a fuck when they made that movie.
That is true, Gene, but you're also missing another factor. They build this beautiful world, in-world Western, then they break the fourth wall and show that it is only a set. They show the buildings are just the fronts. They show them fall. They show the extras. They show it bleed into the backlots. They take that world, show it to us, build it up, give it love. They show it reverence. They really love the genre, and then they tear it down. Here, the problem is the movie does look so good. That's part of the problem, is that you went through the pain and effort to get the exact set from the 31 classic, and then you didn't do anything with it. You just, it was the same set. How was this nominated for an Academy Award for Best Screenplay Adaptation? There's nothing new. It doesn't add anything to it. And I think that's sad, because what makes a good satire? You have to take what's expected, build upon it, and then lampoon it in a way that's smart enough that makes you realize, hey, I never saw that flaw in the original genre. This is nothing but a paint by numbers retelling of the story. And I would love to see what you would have done if you put this maybe after Blazing Saddles and made it more, contemporary to the time and take on some social themes or broaden it beyond a very light satire of the genre.
Following up on that thought, Big D, Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs both were inspired by some Westerns and some sci-fi movies, and they incorporated like different ones in, right? As opposed to being sort of a step-by-step retelling of Frankenstein, right? There were a lot of other horror movie tropes and Hollywood horror movie tropes that could have been used and given us a little bit of variety. And it's not that they stuck directly to the story of Frankenstein. Like, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein doesn't have an Inga. It doesn't have a Frau Blucher. Like, there are characters here that have been added in changes and beats in the story. And so it's neither a faithful adaptation, nor is it a play on the original. It's just kind of something in between. Returning to the lab, Frederick discovers Blucher releasing the creature. She reveals the monster's love of violin music, her own romantic relationship with Frederick's grandfather, and her planning out the events that inspired Frederick to create the monster. The monster becomes enraged by electrical sparks from a thrown switch and escapes the castle. While roaming the countryside, the monster interacts with a young girl and a blind monk. Frederick recaptures the monster and locks himself in a room with it. He calms the monster's homicidal tendencies with flattery and a promise to guide him to success, embracing his heritage as a Frankenstein.
So, Abbott, please don't think this is going to be only negative. There were moments, surprisingly, that I enjoyed this film a lot, that I laughed and I didn't expect it. It was possibly because Mel Brooks was forced to stay behind the camera and not on screen, but I could really get into it. And there were moments that I laughed. And the highlight for me, maybe coming off of the little documentary I told you, behind the scenes of the Royal Tenenbaums, and Gene Hackman and his recent death, and knowing how he was later on in life, that he was really difficult to work with. So when we get a young Gene Hackman shows up in the role of a blind hermit who is just like a throw-in, he's in the movie for maybe watching a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe.
Too many, yeah.
No, Gene. He's wearing a terrible prosthetic beard and mustache, and it made me smile before the first joke landed. Because I'm thinking, this isn't like Gene Hackman's first role. This is Gene Hackman post The French Connection, Academy Award winning, post Poseidon Adventure. He's a big action, leading man, Hollywood heartthrob, I dare say. And I did not expect him to pop up as a monk, a blind monk in a Mel Brooks comedy. And he nails it. He's subtle, he's hysterical, but he's giving the side eye like he knows he's better than this material. And I just found myself wondering, how the hell did they manage to get him in this film at this point in his career?
Like, do you want to do soup jokes? We got the movie for you. I'm going to dress you up as a monk and have you serve some soup. Big D, we're halfway through this 2-hour slog of a movie, and I feel like Mel Brooks ran out of ideas a half hour ago. The most fun you're going to get to have in this movie is when the monster gets loose. Monster gets loose. It's his first time running across the countryside, and what do you decide to do with him? Does he ravage the village? No. Does he have a series of hilarious misunderstanding with the town folk? No. Does he go to the tavern and like outdrink the locals? No. Young Frankenstein was like, I know, first stop, the monk's house. He's going to spill some soup on him and light his thumb on fire.
No, that wasn't the first stop. The first stop was the child seesaw catapult.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. Okay. Also, yeah, some of the yeah, you're absolutely right, Big D. I apologize for forgetting that hilarious sequence in which he threw some flowers into a well. We did not get to see him throw a child into a well, but he seesaws her ass through the sky and back into her room where her parents are glad that they thought they left her there. What the fuck is this movie? At a theater filled with prominent guests, Frederick shows the creature following simple commands, then performs Putting on the Ritz with him. During the performance, a stage light explodes and frightens the monster, who becomes enraged at the booing crowd and charges at them before being captured and chained by police. Back in the laboratory, Inga attempts to comfort Frederick, and they sleep together on the suspended reanimation table. The monster escapes from prison the same night Elizabeth, Frederick's socialite fiancée, arrives unexpectedly. He takes her captive, and she falls in love with him. They have sex.
So my stance on Mel Brooks musical numbers, it's well established. There's usually no leeway. I've not enjoyed a single one. But that being said, I cannot imagine what it must have been like to be in a theater in 1974, and you're sitting down watching this beautiful black and white monster movie parody. And then suddenly Gene Wilder's on stage with the monster, and he has to come up with a way to show that this isn't just a mindless monster. He's a miracle creation, that life has returned, and show the capability of what this technology could do. It is the gateway to immortality. The last thing I would ever have imagined is Putting on the Ritz. It is unexpected. It's inappropriately funny. And partially because the rendition of the famous, the actor from Everyone Loves Raymond, the monster doesn't just dance, he's got his cane, but he's put on the ritz. And it feels wrong to laugh at it because he's almost doing a parody of someone who's disabled. It felt so wrong. But
No, he's not.
I'm saying it felt like it, dude. It felt like a mix between sloth and if you were making like a joke about someone who was disabled.
Are you familiar with Frankenstein's monster?
I've never heard him sing a show tune, Gene.
That's how he talks, though. Ah!
But he wasn't like, put on the words.
That is not what he sounds like.
He does.
What the fuck? Now it just reminded me of Phil Hartman on that Saturday Night Live sketch where he's Frankenstein singing Christmas carols. Anyway, this is the moment everyone quotes. This is the big moment in the movie. This is the scene that jumped in my head, Big D, when you mentioned Young Frankenstein had been commissioned by Emmett. This is the energy that we wanted. This is Blazing Saddles. This is Spaceballs. I was so mad because I want to know, where was this the rest of the movie? This nonsensical, insane, energetic, something that's been missing in this movie largely, energetic scene. It's so good. Maybe we just need more songs.
No, don't ever say that.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't get a song out of Madeline Kahn. Well, we got kind of a song. She sang operatically while getting stooped.
Yeah.
I might have a crush on Madeline Kahn. She stole my heart in Blazing Saddles with her performance of Tired. And once again, she hops on the screen in Young Frankenstein. Big D, I'm not exaggerating when I said I was watching her and the whole world disappeared. She's lighting up that cigarette with the Frankenstein's monster. And just, I'm sucked in. She did it in Clue. She did it in the Muppet movie. And in that train scene early in the movie with Gene Wilder and the sex scene with Peter Boyle, you just feel like she's making it all up as she goes. Big D, you mentioned before people disappearing into roles like Martin Landau did in Ed Wood, right? She isn't that kind of actor. She's always going to be Madeline Kahn. But when I'm watching her on screen, it's like I can swear there was a script that somebody wrote and she looked at it and was like, nah, this is funnier, and just did her own thing.
So, Gene, you've heard with the kids where they say you've got Riz, right? Riz, you got charisma, you got that thing, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about how the Hollywood trope of like the girls liking the bad boys, the bad guy. She is a bad girl. Madeline Kahn, there's something dangerous about her.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think Marla from Fight Club, she's up there. Madeline Kahn, you don't know what she's capable of. She's filthy. She's got a dirty mouth. You don't know what she's capable of. And I think that makes her great. And like you said, that adds to the genuine nature of her performance, where it could be just all spitballed, ad-libbing. You don't know because she's so good and genuine. But there's a scene in there that you talk about with her. You said, I believe you said where they make love or they have a romance. I have a slightly different take on that. I was not ready for any romantic anything between the undead corpse coming back to life and getting romantic. And I should have known when we get the joke about the proportion of the monster that, if he's that big, then everything should be impaired. The Schwarzenstumpf should be huge. I should have known, Gene, that we were going to come back and there was going to be some romantic scene. And of course it had to be Madeline Kahn. But she actually got raped by the monster. The monster comes in, traps her, and I'm like, holy shit, is he taking his pants off? He starts taking his pants off. She, as soon as she sees his giant hog, this is like Hodor. She's like, wow, look at that thing. He climbs on top of her and she starts singing operatic about finding like the joy in life or it being like some kind of almost a religious experience. They have sex 7 times. Sure, I think in the 70s, this probably played as like sexual wild farce, but today she got raped. This monster raped her and they flipped it into almost as if in like Revenge of the Nerds, right? Where Gilbert dresses up as Stan, has sex with his girlfriend, raped by deception. It's a crime. And then she says, I should have known nerds do it better. Like it made it okay. Let's flip the gender, Gene. Let's pretend that the monster was some giant, big-tittied, beautiful reincarnation, right?
Hell yeah.
And some dudes made a comment, look at the big tits on that Franken monster. And they came over and banged it. Would people be like cool with that?
Well, as you've already established, they can't give informed consent because apparently this monster is developmentally disabled. So
he can't give consent.
Oh, he seems to be giving it just fine.
I don't think that's what
and by the way, he's not undead. He's reanimated. I am surprised this bothered you at all, Big D. I think Ash and I did a number. Carrie planted some seeds.
No, it didn't bother me. It surprised me. It surprised me.
Okay.
I was shocked.
Okay, all right. I'm all for consent. But I think the movie went to great ends to establish Elizabeth wanted to be dominated, but she was with Frederick. Like the hair thing, the taffeta thing, the nails thing. I think she wanted him to push past those boundaries.
See, I think I was getting the two roles combined. Do you remember Haunted Honeymoon? I think it was Madeline Kahn there who was intentionally withholding sex from Gene Wilder.
That wasn't Madeline. Wait,
that wasn't Madeline Kahn. I think it was.
No, that was Rita. That was his wife. Rita. No, not Rita.
It was Gilda Radner.
Gilda Radner. Yeah.
Again, see, Gene, is what's happening here. It's all blurring. It's blurring into similar characters, similar roles. But yeah, that scene. I didn't have a problem with it as much as like, did they really just like his monster penis? And she's like, oh yeah, give it to me.
Yeah, it made sense. The monster is everything she desires. He's huge in every sense of the word. He doesn't care about her money. She's like, my father will give you anything. He's like, I don't care about money. He doesn't care about her status. He doesn't care about anything but getting down to Pound Town. And in real life, this is absolutely not okay. I'm with you there, Big D, but I think we're meant to understand she's very into it, like from the beginning.
But this is like Jenny, I think, jerking off Forrest. I ruined your roommate's bathrobe.
Speaking of things that weren't on my bingo card for this episode.
Yeah, you like Jenny jerking off Forrest is you couldn't. Not that he would have stopped if she said stop, but she shouldn't have egged him on because it just felt wrong.
While the townspeople hunt the monster, Frederick plays the violin and Igor plays the horn to lure his creation back to the castle. Just as a Kemp-led mob storms the laboratory, Frederick transfers some of his stabilizing intellect to the monster, who placates the mob. Sometime later, Frederick and Inga are wed, and Elizabeth marries the now sophisticated monster. While in bed with Frederick, Inga asks what he got in return during the transfer procedure. Frederick growls and embraces Inga, while Igor plays the horn on the roof.
Well done. So explain this to me, Gene.
Yeah.
What did he get from it? Was the ability to be a good lover? Was that the moaning and it was like an animal instinct?
I think you got the Schwanzstücke.
So actually the Schwanzstücke, it was actually his penis, or it was the technique, or he became almost like just a sexual animal?
I think it was the penis itself.
Oh,
or maybe the ability to fuck 7 times in a row.
Yeah, I think that may have been it.
Schwanzstücke.
Okay.
Before we close out, Big D, I feel like I owe an apology to Joe from Asheville, who 3 years ago commissioned our review of The Naked Gun. And Joe, I'm talking directly to you, so turn it up, gather your family around. I know I complained that The Naked Gun was just a machine gun paced series of jokes that didn't hit. I did not know how bad things could get, because Young Frankenstein is a trickling faucet of jokes that don't hit. And to add insult to injury, so many of these jokes were followed by drawing our attention to the punchline again, in case we missed it. Igor was one of the funnier characters in this movie and had some good moments. But unfortunately, he also had the dirty work of yanking us back to punchlines that we didn't want to laugh at in the first place.
No, and I don't think the movie respects the audience. A lot of jokes, like you talked about Blazing Saddles, about, knowing it's a dick joke, and they didn't have to like really show it to you. You'd pick up on it if you could. And here you get so many jokes that it felt heavy-handed, and they were thinking the audience wouldn't get it. You get the dart scene. They're playing darts. The darts are flying out the window. Then we get the reveal that all the darts have gone into the tire on the coach. We see it, but then the camera has to zoom into the darts. I'm like, I don't think anybody missed that. And a lot of these jokes that you say it's a trickle of jokes, I don't even think it counts as a joke. They're more like callbacks, and it's something that Mel Brooks does. You call back to either a funny encounter, a line that really didn't make any sense. That doesn't make it funny. You got the mystery of Frau Blucher, or whatever her name is. What's it? Blucher? Frau Blucher? Blucher? Every time you say her name, the horse is off screen. There's no deep meaning behind it, Gene. It's not a good joke. The scream every time, there's no explanation. Mel Brooks said it's nonsense, but he just liked the random nature of it, of repeating it. And he thought it was hilarious. And it was just each time it went on, he thought it was funny. And there was going to be an expectation of the next horse neigh. To the fact, Gene, that shows you how it didn't hit. There's a fake translation theory for this joke, that there's people that were out there and believed there had to be a deeper meaning. So the fans went back and they've speculated that Blucher sounds like the German word bleacher, which means glue. And that glue sounded like to the horse that they were going to be put down. And it reminded them of the glue factories. And that's why every time they said her name, Mel Brooks said, no, that's not true. When the fans have to create the backstory to a joke, it tells you it either went over their head or it was just misplaced.
Well, now's the time in the podcast we give our Shat score for Young Frankenstein. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes the movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is the perfect movie. It's when you have an enormous Schwanzstücke, and 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a film. It's when you put an abnormal brain into a 7.5 foot, 54 inch wide gorilla. I'll go first, Big D. Some comedies out there, particularly older ones, are written for the dumbest person in the room, figuring the rest of us will get the jokes too. And I understand that philosophy, right? If you're making a film with mass appeal, you want everybody who bought a ticket to have a good time. Why would you make a comedy that only the cleverest audiences would understand? It's not good for the box office. It's not good for a night out. You know, family of 4 goes out. You want everybody to have a good time. You go on a date with your dumb girlfriend. You want her to laugh too. But the problem is there wasn't enough highbrow to balance it out. You see this all the time. Like, I like to watch Bluey. Okay. I'm not a kid. I have a kid now. Someday maybe she'll watch Bluey. And I could watch Bluey because there's some clever jokes that the kids aren't getting, but I'm getting it. Disney movies have gotten this. Pixar gets this. That's not what's happening here. There's also not enough shock value like what we had in Blazing Saddles, where there are things where you go, holy shit, did they just say that or do that? It's just a really predictable but good looking horror parody. I'm going to go 4 wipes.
I got to go a little better than that. I think it's a beautiful film. It is a classic, but for all its reputation, Young Frankenstein, it feels like a parody maybe when we weren't that good at the genre. I don't think it's aged well. The jokes aren't funny. The pacing is slow. The humor is uneven. It's not as clever as Mel Brooks gets later. I can't believe it made me truly appreciate like Spaceballs. Like even jamming the radar. I was like, wow, that's a deep cut compared to what we get here. Because the cleverness, it wears thin. I think the movie's more about remembering the classics. And maybe there was too much love that he treated the genre and the classics with like kid gloves. So he didn't go after them as hard as he did the Western and some of the other genres. And because it's a classic, I'm going to go a little bit better. But I think 3.75 wipes. But this is not the timeless classic. This is not top 100. This is not top 20 comedies. It's serviceable.
Well, with 3 3/4 wipes from you, Big D, and 4 wipes from me, that gives us an average wipe score of 3.875 wipes for 1974's Young Frankenstein.
So, Gene, with a score of 3.875 wipes, that now sits this movie alone in the 342 spot. It is slightly better than Defending Your Life, Real Genius, and Arachnophobia, slightly worse than GoldenEye, Christmas Story, and The Last Starfighter.
Emmett, I know Big D mentioned some of those rankings that he doesn't agree with in the top movies of all time, and I do agree with him, but I should say that we are not professional film critics. We're just 2 guys doing a podcast, and we have our own views, and it's a pretty limited sample set between the 2 of us. So it is interesting that Big D and I were almost on exactly the same score and did not care for this movie. But also, I think it's important to note that we could be very wrong on this. It's just our personal opinions.
Right. I think we come at a different approach. If you want to go get a professional breakdown of the art of creating a film and what we see, you go maybe read the New York Times or go read a film review You don't want to go there, though, if you want to hear about your Forrest Gump ejaculating onto Jenny's college comforter. That's why you come to Shat the Movies.
Yeah. Like, for instance, Kevin Marr of the Times UK said, the best Mel Brooks film with the finest Gene Wilder performance is this near flawless horror spoof that's shot in velvety monochrome and pays loving homage to the original Universal monster movies of the 1930s.
When was that
That's nice.
written?
October 5th, 2024.
What a kiss ass.
Yeah. Peter Bradshaw, The Guardian, said, in some ways, it can now be considered not as satire or spoof, but a continuation of the Frankenstein genre, a connoisseur development or theme variation not so far removed from the Hammer or Warhol riffs. Yeah,
you know what the
hell that means.
I'm going to be shocked to say this, Gene. You know what would have made this movie better? Dom DeLuise in drag.
Yes. Always.
Yep. It would have been great.
Always. Right. Next up, Big D, I'd like to get into our mailbag. Got a couple emails from listeners. And the first one is Mark from Montreal, who says, hello, Shat team. This is Mark from Montreal. I may only be 25, but I grew up watching tons of 80s and 90s movies on DVD and VHS. In my early teens, I became a serious movie buff, and to this day, I still have a huge soft spot for 80s films. I love films so much that a childhood dream of mine was to work in a video store, but sadly, my local store closed when I was about 14. I just missed out. Fuck, that hurts, dude. On a brighter note, I'm a huge fan of the pod. I've been listening for just over a year, and according to Amazon Music, last year I was one of your top 5% of listeners. So I got that going for me, which is nice. I've been having a lot of fun listening to your back catalog, especially some of the old Roger episodes. I remember the first time I heard Roger, I was like, oh man, this guy's so obnoxious. But then after an episode or two, he totally grew on me. And I was like, no, wait, this guy is hilarious. We've all been there, Mark. Anyway, I'd love to support you guys and commission a personal favorite called To Live and Die in LA. I'm curious if you guys are familiar with this one. It's definitely an underrated film. It was directed by William Friedkin, who did movies like The Exorcist, The French Connection, and another really solid underappreciated thriller called Sorcerer with the late Roy Scheider. To Live and Die in LA might be one of the most 80s movies ever made, and if you guys haven't covered it yet, I feel this is a must. From the fashion, the hair, the clothes, the neo-noir aesthetic, the grit. I mean, you have a soundtrack by Wang freaking Chung, which I think tells you everything you need to know. It stars William Peterson, fresh off Manhunter, as a federal agent and a very young and handsome Willem Dafoe as a counterfeiter. It also has some stunning, vibrant cinematography, great frenetic action, and one of the best and most insane car chases of all cinema. It's an absolute thriller. Please let me know if you guys have covered it. If you have, not a problem. I'd be happy to commission something else, maybe a sequel to something you guys have already covered. Money is a bit tight right now, but I'll send it as soon as I can. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you for the hours and hours of entertainment. Take care, Mark.
So, Mark, I would definitely be in for the film, without a doubt. And you've made me realize I have to appreciate more the time I grew up. I feel lucky. Growing up, I was born in 73. Growing up in the early 80s, into the 90s, besides it now being like, trendy in pop culture and the 80s films and the love of all nostalgia, even like you just said there, I never thought about how lucky I was to work at a video store, at a Blockbuster. At the time, I didn't enjoy it, but looking back now, the exposure it gave me to the films, also dealing with difficult customers, customer service, even to this day, Gene, my employee number at Blockbuster is still my 5-digit password on any of my accounts. It's not going to help anybody because you won't know what that was. But the 5-digit code is my original employee number from Blockbuster.
I've been seeing a lot of Homeland Security posts on Facebook. They're like, let's go back to good times. Like, let's take our country back to when it was good. And it's like an old Ford truck with a Coca-Cola bottle on it, like a family at a picnic. And it's always like in the 50s. I never got that, man. The 90s. I was so lucky to be a teenager in the 90s. I just remember like Friday nights hanging out in a parking lot of like a Taco Bell near the video store or something like that. And you're just hanging out with your friends. You're bullshitting for hours, man, just making shit up. And then eventually wandering the store. You spend an hour walking around the fucking store. Everybody comes back with a video. You kind of shuffle. Which ones are we going to get? Maybe we're going to get a video game system tonight or something like that. You get your Jolt Cola. Maybe you get a pizza, and then you go home and you hang out all night. Maybe you call a girl. One guy's on the phone with the girl for an hour, whatever. I mean, fuck, those were great times, great fucking times. And we were so lucky to be there.
And I'll even say it in a different way. It was better without cell phones. When you took away cell phones, people were more, present in the moment.
Unless you're having a medical emergency.
That's true. It would suck. But there's a trend now, Gene, where parents are getting landlines and they're putting the one telephone in the center of the house.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I got an issue here. Okay, so I love the landline idea, but some of these fuckers are doing the phone that like runs off of VoIP, right? And they're like, oh, it's revolutionary. What a genius idea. Dude, a fucking landline is way cooler. Just get the land. They're not expensive. They're incredibly cheap, right? But the VoIP thing, I just don't get because those devices can only call each other, which is like, what the fuck's the point? Or you have to pay a subscription service to be able to call VoIP from that phone to, what's it called? Tin can or whatever? Call like to an actual phone. But yeah, having a landline where, your kid can pick up the phone and call grandma or mom, that's incredible. I love it. Love it.
Agreed. So I think we're both on board to live and die.
Yes, absolutely, Big D. And Mark did a great job of mentioning who's in that movie. He didn't mention Dean Stockwell's in that movie from Quantum Leap, right? Also, Robert Downey Sr. is in the movie and John Turturro. It sounds like a winner to me. I think this movie's going to mind fuck us. This will be great.
I hope so.
All right. Well, thanks, Mark, for the recommendation. We're in. Next up, we have Mr. Good Times writing in about Johnny Mnemonic. Says, hey, Shat, just checking in. I emailed a month ago and never heard back. I want to commission Johnny Mnemonic. He spells it Johnny Mnemonic. It has Keanu Reeves, Dolph Lundgren, Henry Rollins, and Ice-T. If that isn't a Shat, I don't know what is. Come on, guys. Let me give you my money. Ha ha. Thanks, Mr. Best Times.
Hell yeah. I think that's recognized as Keanu Reeves' like one bomb or his one true failure that it was supposed to like launch this whole new angle of his career. I mean, I know he did that one later on. It was like wasn't there like some terrorist or something where he was on a motorcycle and there was a nuclear bomb that went off with him and Morgan Freeman and he outruns the nuclear explosion like on his motorcycle. I don't remember that one.
I don't remember that one, but Johnny Mnemonic, I mean, I think with what's going on, like at the time it seemed very far-fetched. I'd be curious to see if it makes more sense now in our current dystopian hellscape. That was not a Donald Trump comment, by the way. Talking about mega corporations and technology.
Gene, I just can prove it now. My brain is still as sharp as a katana, Gene. That was the 1996 film Chain Reaction, where it's it's a sci-fi thriller. It's him and it is Morgan Freeman, and they're doing some scientific experiment, and they create obviously a chain reaction. But he outruns the explosion, Gene, on like a tiny little bike.
What's he riding?
I don't know. It's probably some powerful bike, but I don't remember it being.
Let's see.
Keanu Reeves nuclear outruns. It's probably going to be like some Ninja 1100 or some shit. But to me,
KZ-1000. A 1976 KZ-1000. That is not, I mean, for its time, I guess that was a fast bike.
So it was in an industrial area. The roads weren't paved, and it wasn't like a straight shot highway. And I believe, so he couldn't get it up to top speed.
No.
And then he dumped it, I think, into a ravine, and the shockwave went over him. But yeah.
I mean, those are basically what they used to use for like police bikes back then. They would put fairings and shit on them. But anyway. Yeah. And also, Mr. Best Times. Sorry, I called you Mr. Good Times. I got a little excited. Finally, we have an email from Jason Von Loan, who says, I recently discovered your show and love it and have a request for 2 movie reviews. Can you do The Burbs and RoboCop 2? Thanks. Sincerely, Jason Von Loan.
So, Jason, I'll tell you what. If you commission RoboCop 2, I will do a magic act. I will give you The Burbs for free, and to show you how much we care about you, I'm going to let you download it today. Go to the website, do The Burbs. That's just for you, but you still owe us RoboCop 2.
All right, so that sounds like a winner. RoboCop's been coming up a lot lately. RoboCop the original and RoboCop 2. All I remember is like Ed has a bigger role in it, right? Ed's back and batter or something. Does RoboCop get like gold plated? Am I thinking of Short Circuit?
No.
Sharp as attack, chain reaction.
Yeah. See, Gene, you're getting like daddy brain.
Oh, God, I have not slept in forever. Okay. I have not slept in forever. All right, Big D. Enough commissions. What do we have coming up next week?
Gene, I am so excited for next week. It is only the second film in a genre that we've done. We got a commission, and I like to do different films. We did April of 2023. We did Ninja Scrolls, which was our first ninja anime. Now to tie into the Halloween season, we've got anime. We've got, I think, wasteland, vampires, swordplay, ninjas. I don't even know what the fuck I'm in for here. But it's an animated film. The future is bleak for the world's remaining humans who inhabit a vast wasteland and spend a majority of their time trying to outrun vicious vampires and other demonic beings. A supernatural skilled swordsman, of course there had to be one, known simply as D, who is part of the vampire himself, is hired by the mortals to track down the villainous Count Magnus, who recently attacked a local girl. When D rides into Lee's lair on his mechanical steed, a bloodbath ensues. Rob H. Bravo. Bravo.
Big D, you're either going to love or hate Left Hand. Left Hand is a character in this movie that is literally the protagonist's left hand, but it's a wisecracking left hand. It's got a face, and it talks to him.
It's not like an idle hand?
No. But you might be like, well, why does the hand do some more stuff? No, it's a homunculus. And it can suck in stuff, and it's pretty badass.
It is. Is it as sexually aggressive as Ninja Scroll?
No. Not that I remember.
No breasts?
It's way more.
It has to be. There's vampires.
I don't remember that. I think there's like there are boobs. You're right.
Thank goodness.
God, there's way more boobs than I remember. Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah.
There's got to be a lot of sex.
Yeah.
So
Inga.
What wasn't it Ninja Scrolls that actually like her vagina was a weapon?
Yes.
She could kill somebody with the vagina, right?
I mean,
they
all
sucked
can.
his soul out, or no, the vagina healed him, didn't it?
That's right.
Yeah,
he fucked her, and then it got rid of your poison or something.
I thought the vagina was like some magical elixir.
That's what they tell you.
Yeah, they don't know it. It's a trick. Young boys, it's a trick. Stay away.
Well, Rob, thank you for commissioning our upcoming film. Emmett, thank you for commissioning our last two films. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. You can email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever our fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. That helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for the following movie.
Those who know him call him D, a solitary hunter. He roams the vast wastelands between the light and the darkness. The year is 12,090 AD. It is a world where humanity is ruled by vampires. A world where love is stained with blood. Where hope is eclipsed by despair. When a young woman named Doris falls prey to the vampire's fangs, who will save her? Vampire Hunter D. His greatest battle is about to begin. This is it, the spectacular science fiction horror romance that started it all. Based on the works of Hideyuki Kikuchi, with character designs by Yoshitaka Amano, directed by Toyo Ashida. 3 legendary talents bring you the title that redefined anime forever. Vampire Hunter D.